What happens when love becomes obsession, and family turns into your worst enemy? This isn't just a love triangle, it's a storm of betrayal, lies, and forbidden desire that will leave nothing unbroken. Behind the perfect image of the Davis family lies a truth so dark it could destroy them all. Two brothers at war. One woman caught in the fire. And a choice that changes everything. Before we continue, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more stories like this. The train slowed as it approached the small town station, and Sophie Brown pressed her hand against the window, her chest tight with nerves she hadn't felt in years. The familiar countryside rolled past, green fields stretching under a soft grey sky. She had left this place 3 years ago to chase a dream in the city, but now, stepping off the train, she felt as though she was stepping back into her own past. Her suitcase wheels rattled against the uneven ground as she walked onto the platform. It smelled of damp grass and old wood. Nothing had changed. The same peeling paint on the benches, the same quietness that pressed around her. And then, Sophie. The voice was warm, deep, and instantly familiar. She turned, and there he was, Arthur Davis. Arthur stood a few steps away, taller than she remembered, his brown hair slightly windswept, his smile genuine and gentle. He looked like the boy she used to know, yet more grown, steadier, like someone who carried responsibilities with quiet pride. "Arthur," Sophie breathed, her lips curving into a smile despite her nerves. He closed the distance between them, pulling her into a quick hug. His scent was clean, faintly like pine and soap, and it anchored her in a way the city never could. "You're really here," he said softly, pulling back to look at her face. "I almost thought you'd change your mind." "I nearly did," Sophie admitted, her voice small. "It feels strange being back." "Strange, maybe," Arthur said, his eyes kind. "But not wrong." He reached for her suitcase before she could protest, lifting it with ease. "Come on. Let's get you home." They walked side by side out of the station. The town stretched before them in quiet familiarity, the narrow streets, the brick houses, the old bakery that still displayed loaves in the window. Sophie's heart ached at how everything looked the same. She had changed, but the town hadn't. Arthur glanced at her as they walked. "You've lost weight. City life keeping you too busy to eat." She laughed softly. "Or too poor." He chuckled, shaking his head. "Still making jokes. Some things never change." His words comforted her. For a moment, Sophie allowed herself to imagine that maybe coming back wasn't a mistake. But as they turned down the lane toward the Davis family house, her stomach tightened again. She hadn't forgotten who else lived there. The Davis house came into view, a large stone home, a little weathered but proud. Arthur led her inside, the wooden floor creaking under their steps. The scent of old oak and something faintly smoky lingered in the air. Arthur carried her suitcase upstairs, leaving Sophie to wander the sitting room. Her eyes roamed across the family photographs on the mantelpiece. There was Arthur in his school uniform, smiling shyly at the camera. And then, her gaze froze. Logan Davis. The photo showed him in his late teens, standing next to Arthur. Logan's expression was different, no smile, just a sharpness in his dark eyes, as though he already knew he was too wild for the picture-perfect frame. Sophie's breath caught. She remembered him, how he used to tease Arthur, how he was always in trouble, how he vanished one night without a word. Rumors had swirled around the town back then. Fights. Scandal. Lies. She hadn't seen him since. The sound of boots against the wooden floor made her spin around. And there he was. Logan Davis leaned casually against the doorframe, arms crossed, his lips curved in a half-smirk. He looked older, sharper. His jawline was stronger, his dark hair a little unruly, his eyes carrying that same dangerous spark that once unsettled her as a teenager. "Well, look who decided to come back," he drawled. Little Sophie Brown. Her heart lurched. She tried to steady her voice. "Logan." Arthur returned just then, holding out his hands. "Don't start, Logan." "Start." Logan arched a brow, his gaze never leaving Sophie. "I didn't say a word." but the weight in his stare was enough to make her flush. Arthur cleared his throat, placing himself between them. Sophie, don't mind him. He's just what? Logan cut in smoothly, his tone mocking. Honest. Arthur's jaw tightened. Sophie could feel the tension between them, thick as smoke. She had only just arrived, and already the old rift between the Davis brothers had cracked open again. Logan finally pushed away from the doorframe and strode past her, his shoulder brushing hers deliberately. He smelled faintly of leather and something darker, and the simple touch made her pulse race. "Welcome home," he murmured near her ear, before disappearing down the hall. Sophie stood frozen, her heart hammering. Arthur placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, his touch grounding. "Don't let him get to you," Arthur said quietly. "He hasn't changed." But Sophie knew that wasn't true. Logan had changed. And the dangerous pull in her chest told her this homecoming was about to be anything but simple. The following days slipped into a strange rhythm. Sophie spent time with Arthur, walking through the town, visiting the places they used to know. He was patient, always attentive, his kindness wrapping around her like a blanket. One evening, they sat on the porch steps outside the Davis house. The summer air was cool, the stars faint but visible above. Crickets sang in the distance, and Sophie felt a peace she hadn't known in years. Arthur's shoulder brushed hers as they sat in silence. At last, he spoke. "You know," he said quietly, "I used to wonder if I'd ever see you again." Sophie turned, surprised by the seriousness in his tone. "Really?" He nodded, his eyes on the ground. "I thought maybe the city would swallow you up. That you'd forget all about this place. About me." She smiled softly. "I could never forget you, Arthur." The way his eyes lifted to hers made her heart catch. There was something deeper there, something he had held back for years. He took a slow breath. "Sophie, I've wanted to tell you this for a long time." Her chest tightened. She already knew what was coming, yet hearing it still sent a rush of nervous heat through her. "I've always loved you," Arthur said, his voice low but steady. "Since we were kids. You were always the brightest part of this town for me. And when you left, it hurt more than I ever said. But I never stopped hoping you'd come back. Hoping I'd get another chance to tell you." Sophie's lips parted, but no words came. His confession filled the night air, heavy and tender. Arthur reached for her hand, his touch warm and trembling slightly. "I don't expect you to say anything right now. I just needed you to know." Sophie's throat ached. Part of her longed to lean into him, to accept the steady love he offered. It was safe. It was real. But then, the sound of a low laugh drifted from the shadows. Both of them turned. Logan leaned against the porch railing in the darkness, half hidden but watching. His smile was crooked, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "Well, isn't this sweet?" he said. Little Arthur finally found his courage. Arthur's hand tensed around Sophie's before pulling away. "Go inside, Logan." "Why?" Logan asked smoothly, his gaze fixed on Sophie. "I'd hate to miss this." Sophie's pulse raced under his stare. There was something mocking in his tone, but also something else, an intensity that unsettled her. Arthur stood, his voice tight. "This isn't your business." Logan tilted his head, his smirk deepening. "Isn't it? Everything about her is my business." Sophie's breath caught. The words were bold, reckless, and her heart betrayed her by stuttering at them. Arthur took a step forward, his fists clenched. "Leave her alone, Logan." For a moment, the brothers stood facing each other, the tension crackling like a storm. Then Logan's gaze shifted back to Sophie, his voice dropping. "Careful, Sophie," he said softly, almost a whisper. "You think you know which brother to trust. But you don't." With that, he disappeared into the house, leaving the air heavy with his presence. Sophie's heart pounded as Arthur sat back down beside her, his hand brushing hers again, almost protective. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. He won't stop trying to mess with you. That's what he does. Sophie tried to nod, tried to focus on Arthur's steady warmth. But deep inside, Logan's words echoed, unsettling and sharp. You think you know which brother to trust. But you don't. And as Sophie lay awake later that night, her mind betraying her with images of Logan's dark smile, she realized something terrifying. She wasn't just caught between two brothers. She was already slipping. The next morning, Sophie woke early to the sound of birds outside her window. The Davis house was quiet, filled with that heavy, old silence only country homes seem to have. She dressed slowly, her thoughts tangled from the night before. Arthur's confession still lingered in her heart like a warm ember, gentle, steady, everything she should want. But Logan's words from the shadows refused to leave her alone. You think you know which brother to trust. But you don't. She shook her head, trying to push the memory away as she headed downstairs. The kitchen smelled faintly of coffee and toasted bread. Arthur stood at the counter, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. He turned with a smile when he saw her. Morning, he said warmly. Morning. He handed her a mug, their fingers brushing briefly, and Sophie felt that safe, familiar warmth again. You're quiet today, Arthur observed gently. Sophie forced a smile. Just adjusting. It's strange being back after so long. Arthur nodded, understanding in his eyes. I know. But give it time. The town has its charms once you let them in again. He leaned against the counter, sipping his coffee. I was thinking I could show you around later. Maybe take you by the lake? We used to spend hours there. Sophie smiled faintly at the memory. I'd like that. But before she could say more, a voice cut through the air. Going on a little date, are we? Logan stood in the doorway, his hair tousled as though he hadn't slept, his expression unreadable. He leaned casually against the frame, his eyes sliding from Arthur to Sophie. Arthur's jaw tightened. It's not a date. Sure, Logan drawled. Just 2 old friends, drinking coffee, making plans. Completely innocent. Sophie shifted uncomfortably under his gaze. His words dripped with mockery, but his eyes held something else, something sharper, as if he were studying her reaction. Arthur ignored him, setting his mug down firmly. Come on, Sophie. Let's head out before the day gets too hot. The town was just as Sophie remembered. Narrow cobbled streets, the small shops with old painted signs, the smell of bread drifting from the bakery. People greeted Arthur with warmth as they passed, their respect for him clear in every nod and smile. Sophie noticed it all. Arthur wasn't just the boy she left behind. He was a man now, someone steady, someone people trusted. Yet as they walked, Sophie also noticed the whispers. Some people glanced at her curiously, their eyes flicking with recognition, then darting away as if afraid to be caught staring. She caught fragments of murmured words, the Davis brothers. Trouble back then. At the lake, Sophie sat on the wooden dock, staring at her reflection in the rippling water. The breeze carried the scent of wildflowers and damp earth. Arthur sat beside her, stretching his legs out. This place hasn't changed at all, he said. No, Sophie agreed softly. But I can't help feeling like I missed something while I was gone. Arthur's expression shifted slightly. What do you mean? She hesitated. About Logan. People in town, they talk. They say something happened before he left. Arthur's jaw tightened. His gaze fixed on the water. People talk too much. But what happened? Sophie pressed gently. He shook his head. It's not important. He made his choices, Sophie. Choices that hurt people. Her brow furrowed. What kind of choices? Arthur finally turned to her, his expression earnest, almost pleading. Trust me, you don't need to know. Logan isn't someone you should get close to. He'll only drag you down. His words were steady, protective, and Sophie wanted to believe him. She should believe him. Arthur had always been the honest one, the kind one. But a small voice inside her whispered of Logan's piercing eyes, his warning. You think you know which brother to trust. But you don't. Later that afternoon, Sophie stopped by the old bookshop in town. The air smelled of paper and dust, the shelves stacked high with volumes. She wandered absently, running her fingers along the spines. Back in town, are you? Sophie looked up to see Mrs. Hargreaves, the shopkeeper, peering at her curiously. Yes, Sophie said with a smile. Just visiting for a while. Mrs. Hargreaves nodded, then leaned closer. And staying with the Davis boys, I hear. Sophie's cheeks warmed. Yes. The older woman's eyes softened with something like pity. Arthur's a good one. Always has been. But Logan, she shook her head. Best be careful around him, dear. His trouble. Always has been. Sophie swallowed. Why does everyone say that? What did he do? Mrs. Hargreaves glanced around as though the books themselves might overhear. You didn't hear it from me, but there was a fight. Years back. Bad one. Some said it was over money, some said it was over a girl. But whatever it was, it nearly destroyed the Davis family. And after that, Logan left. Some people say Arthur was the only thing keeping this family's name from ruin. Sophie's chest tightened. She wanted to ask more, but Mrs. Hargreaves pressed her lips together firmly, signaling the conversation was over. As Sophie walked back to the Davis house, her thoughts churned. A fight. Lies. Secrets. And Arthur's reluctance to talk about it. Something didn't add up. And Sophie was beginning to wonder if Logan wasn't the only one hiding things. That night, after dinner, Sophie slipped out onto the back porch for air. The sky was deep blue, stars faintly glimmering through thin clouds. She hugged her arms around herself, her thoughts restless. Arthur's words, Mrs. Hargreaves' warning, the whispers in town, they all tangled together in her mind. And then, you look like you've seen a ghost. Her heart jumped. She spun around. Logan leaned lazily against the porch railing, his figure half hidden in shadow. His shirt was unbuttoned at the collar, his sleeves rolled up, his posture relaxed but his eyes sharp. Do you always sneak around like that? Sophie asked, her voice shaky. He smirked. Only when there's something worth sneaking for. Her cheeks heated, and she turned away. Don't. Don't what? Don't play games with me, Logan. He stepped closer, his presence surrounding her like heat. Who said I was playing? Sophie's heart pounded. She tried to steady her breath. Why does everyone in this town say you're dangerous? Logan's eyes darkened. For a moment, he said nothing, his jaw tightening. Then he leaned closer, his voice low. Because I don't pretend to be something I'm not. Unlike Arthur. Sophie froze. What do you mean? Logan's gaze bore into hers. You think he's perfect, don't you? The golden boy. But he's not. He's just better at hiding his sins. Her chest tightened. You're lying. Am I? His lips curved into a crooked smile. Ask him what really happened the night I left. Ask him why the family nearly lost everything. Ask him how much blood is on his hands. Her throat went dry. Why are you telling me this? Logan's eyes flicked to her lips, then back to her eyes. His voice dropped, husky. Because you deserve to know the truth. And because. Before she could move, his hand brushed against her cheek, his touch rough, calloused, yet gentle. The air thickened between them. You feel it too, don't you? He whispered. Sophie's heart raced. She wanted to deny it, to step back, but her body betrayed her, frozen in place. Logan's thumb brushed her jaw, and then his lips were on hers. The kiss was fierce, consuming, nothing like Arthur's gentle words. It was fire where Arthur was warmth, danger where Arthur was safety. Her hands pressed weakly against his chest, but instead of pushing him away, she lingered, caught in the storm he carried. When he finally pulled back, Sophie's breath came fast, her chest heaving. "You shouldn't have done that," she whispered, her voice trembling. Logan's eyes burned into hers. "Maybe. But I don't regret it." With that, he stepped back into the shadows, leaving Sophie shaken, her lips tingling, her heart betraying her. Inside the house, Arthur's voice called out her name, searching for her. Sophie stood rooted to the porch, her thoughts spinning. Arthur's steady love or Logan's dangerous pull. One felt safe, the other felt like falling. And Sophie realized, with growing dread, that she was already slipping deeper into the storm. The days that followed felt like walking across thin ice. Sophie tried to pretend nothing had happened on the porch that night, tried to bury the memory of Logan's fierce kiss. But it clung to her, no matter how hard she fought it. Arthur noticed the change in her. He noticed the way she grew quiet when Logan entered the room, the way her hands trembled when she thought no one was watching. One evening, Sophie sat in the library of the Davis house, staring at the shelves of old books. The room was dim, lit only by the amber glow of a single lamp. She told herself she'd come here to distract herself, but really, she was avoiding the brothers. Her eyes wandered across the room until they landed on a drawer in Arthur's desk. Something tugged at her, a strange curiosity, like an itch she couldn't ignore. She hesitated. It wasn't right to snoop. Arthur trusted her. But then again, Logan's warning echoed in her mind. "Ask him what really happened the night I left. Ask him how much blood is on his hands." Before she could stop herself, Sophie's fingers curled around the drawer handle. It stuck at first, then slid open with a soft creak. Inside were papers, old receipts, letters, documents. She shifted through them quickly, her heart pounding. Most of it was nothing. But then, at the bottom, she found a folded envelope, yellowed with age. Her breath caught. It was addressed to Arthur, in handwriting she didn't recognize. Carefully, she opened it. The words inside made her blood run cold. "Arthur, if you don't tell the truth, it will destroy this family. You know Logan wasn't the one at fault. But if you stay silent, everyone will believe he was. I can't carry this secret forever. Sophie's hands trembled. She read the letter again, then again. You know Logan wasn't the one at fault. Her chest tightened. Was it possible? Had Arthur, sweet, gentle Arthur, let everyone believe Logan was guilty of something he didn't do? The sound of footsteps made her jump. She shoved the letter back into the drawer and slammed it shut just as Arthur entered. "There you are," he said with a smile. "I was looking for you." Sophie forced a smile, her heart racing. "Just reading." Arthur stepped closer, his expression soft. "You've been quiet lately. Is something wrong?" Her throat tightened. She wanted to ask him about the letter, about Logan, about everything. But the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she shook her head. "I'm just tired." Arthur studied her for a moment, then reached out to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. His touch was gentle, comforting. "You know you can tell me anything, Sophie," he said softly. She nodded, her chest aching. "Can I?" She wondered. "Can I really?" That night, Sophie lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. The letter burned in her mind. Logan's kiss haunted her lips. Arthur's confession tugged at her heart. She was caught between two truths, two brothers, and the walls were closing in. The next evening, Arthur asked Sophie to take a walk with him. They strolled through the garden, the sun setting in shades of gold and crimson. The air was heavy with the scent of roses and damp soil. Arthur seemed nervous, his hands clenching and unclenching at his sides. Finally, he stopped, turning to face her. "Sophie," he began, his voice thick with emotion. "I know I told you how I feel. But I need to say it again. I love you. I've loved you for as long as I can remember. And I don't want to waste any more time." Her heart thudded. "Arthur!" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Sophie's breath caught as he opened it, revealing a delicate ring, a silver band with a small, shining stone. Will you marry me? Arthur asked, his eyes searching hers with raw hope. Sophie's chest ached. She wanted to say yes. It would be the right choice, the safe choice. Arthur was good, steady, kind. He would never hurt her. But even as the word formed on her lips, another voice whispered in her mind. You can't marry him. Because you're already mine. Her blood ran cold. The voice wasn't in her head, it was real. Sophie spun around. Logan stood in the shadows of the garden, his eyes burning, his jaw tight. Arthur's expression hardened. Logan, he said sharply, go inside. But Logan ignored him, his gaze fixed on Sophie. You can't do this, Logan said, his voice low, almost desperate. You can't marry him. Arthur stepped protectively in front of Sophie. This isn't your decision. Logan's eyes flicked past Arthur, locking on Sophie's. Tell me you don't feel it, he said fiercely. Tell me you don't feel what's between us. Sophie's breath caught. She opened her mouth, but no sound came. Arthur's jaw tightened. She doesn't. She knows what's good for her. Something you've never understood. Logan took a step forward, his hands clenched. You don't deserve her. And you do. Arthur snapped. After everything you've done. The tension crackled like fire. Sophie felt torn in two, her heart hammering painfully. Stop it, she cried, stepping between them. Both of you, stop. For a moment, silence hung heavy. Then Logan's hand shot out, gripping Sophie's arm, not roughly, but firmly, desperately. His eyes bored into hers. You belong with me, he whispered. Her breath hitched. She wanted to pull away, to deny him. But the truth burned inside her. She did feel something. Something dangerous, consuming. Arthur pulled her back, his arm around her shoulders. She doesn't belong to you, Logan. She never did. The brothers stood facing each other, their hatred raw, their rivalry bleeding into the night air. Sophie was caught between them, her heart tearing in opposite directions. Arthur turned to her, his voice breaking. Sophie, please. Say yes. Logan's voice cut through, rough and urgent. Say no. Sophie's chest ached, her eyes filling with tears. Her lips trembled, but no answer came. She couldn't choose. Not yet. And in her silence, the world around them seemed to fracture. The Davis house felt colder than ever. After the night in the garden, Sophie couldn't shake the feeling that something was splintering inside her. She had barely slept, lying awake with Arthur's ring box still on her nightstand, unopened, the stone glinting accusingly in the moonlight. In her dreams, Arthur's voice whispered promises of safety, while Logan's kiss burned like fire she couldn't extinguish. The next morning, Arthur knocked softly at her door. Sophie, are you awake? She swallowed. Yes. He stepped in, his expression tired but determined. I know Logan upset you, but don't let him cloud your judgment. You know he's always been reckless, selfish. That hasn't changed. Her throat tightened. Arthur, why does everyone in town say it was you who saved the family name? What really happened the night Logan left? Arthur froze. His eyes flickered, just for a moment, but Sophie saw it, the hesitation, the crack in his calm. People exaggerate, he said finally. Logan got into trouble, as he always does. I stepped in to keep things from getting worse. But I found a letter, Sophie blurted before she could stop herself. It said Logan wasn't at fault. That you let people believe he was. Arthur's face drained of color. He stepped closer, his voice sharp with a panic she had never heard from him before. Where did you see that? In your desk, she admitted, her heart pounding. Arthur exhaled slowly, pinching the bridge of his nose. Sophie, you don't understand. You weren't here. You don't know what Logan is capable of. Then tell me, she cried. Stop hiding it from me. Arthur's gaze softened, but his voice remained firm. I kept that secret to protect him. To protect all of us. If the truth came out, it would destroy this family. Sophie's chest tightened. But what if the truth is that Logan isn't the villain everyone thinks he is? Arthur's jaw clenched. And what if the truth is worse than you can imagine? Before Sophie could answer, the door swung open. Logan stood there, his expression dark, his eyes flicking between Sophie and Arthur. So, he drawled, you finally told her something. Arthur's face hardened. Stay out of this. But Logan ignored him, stepping into the room. His gaze locked on Sophie. Don't let him twist this. He's been lying for years. Sophie's pulse quickened. Lying about what? Arthur moved to block Logan, his voice rising. Don't you dare. About me. Logan snapped, his voice sharp as a whip. He turned to Sophie, his tone raw. The night I left, it wasn't because of what I did. It was because of what Arthur did. He let everyone believe I was guilty so he could be the hero. He painted me as dangerous so he could wear the crown of the golden boy. Arthur's face flushed with fury. That's not true. Logan sneered. Isn't it? Tell her, Arthur. Tell her how you stood in front of Father, how you swore it was me, how you watched as he cast me out like a criminal. Sophie's head spun. She looked at Arthur, her heart racing. Arthur, is it true? Arthur's lips parted, but no words came. The silence was louder than any denial. Tears stung Sophie's eyes. The boy she thought she knew, the kind, steady Arthur, suddenly seemed like a stranger. Logan's voice cut through the heavy silence. See, Sophie? He's not who you think he is. Arthur's fists trembled at his sides. Get out, he growled at his brother. But Logan only smirked, his eyes never leaving Sophie's. You can't protect her from the truth forever, Arthur. And you can't protect her from me. As Logan left, Sophie's chest ached with confusion, betrayal, and a dangerous pull she couldn't resist. The golden image of Arthur Davis was beginning to shatter. By evening, Sophie felt like the walls of the Davis house were closing in on her. Every creak of the floor, every shadow in the hall felt heavy with secrets. She couldn't breathe. She grabbed her coat and fled outside into the night air. The sky was dark, the wind sharp, and the gravel crunched beneath her boots as she walked quickly down the road. She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to get away. Sophie. Her heart lurched. She turned to see Arthur running after her, his face etched with desperation. Please, don't go like this, he begged, catching her arm. We can talk. I can explain. Her throat ached. You should have explained years ago, Arthur. You should have told the truth. His grip tightened, his eyes pleading. Everything I did to protect this family. To protect you. Her breath caught. Protect me. From what? Arthur hesitated, and in that hesitation, Sophie saw it, fear. Not of Logan, but of losing her. Before he could answer, another voice cut through the night. Let her go. Logan emerged from the darkness, his expression fierce, his eyes blazing. Arthur's hand dropped from Sophie's arm as Logan stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. You're scaring her, Logan said coldly. Arthur's voice was sharp. You think you're any better? You've been circling her like a vulture since the moment she walked through that door. Because I know what I want, Logan snapped. And I'm not afraid to fight for it. Sophie's heart pounded. The two brothers stood facing each other in the moonlight, their hatred raw, their love for her a dangerous weapon between them. Arthur turned to her, his voice breaking. Sophie, please. Choose me. Choose the life we could have together. Safe. Steady. Honest. Logan's eyes bore into hers, his voice rough, desperate. Or choose me. Choose the fire you've been trying to deny. You feel it, Sophie. You know you do. Her chest ached. Tears blurred her vision. She couldn't breathe. Arthur stepped forward, his hands trembling. I'll never let him hurt you. I'll give you everything, Sophie. Just say yes. Logan stepped closer, his words fierce. And I'll give you the truth. The whole truth. Even if it burns. Because you deserve that, Sophie. You deserve more than his pretty lies. The night was silent except for the rush of her heartbeat. Arthur's hand reached for hers. Logan's gaze pulled at her like a tide. And Sophie realized the terrifying truth. Whoever she chose, she risked losing everything. Suddenly, Arthur's voice broke the silence, low and dangerous. If I can't have you, Sophie, no one will. Her breath caught. She stared at him, stunned. Arthur's eyes were dark, desperate, nothing like the gentle boy she remembered. Logan moved instantly, stepping in front of her, his body tense. You'll have to go through me first. The air crackled like lightning. Sophie stumbled back, her tears falling freely. She wanted to scream, to beg them to stop, but her voice was gone. 2 brothers. 2 choices. 1 path to safety, wrapped in lies. 1 path to fire, wrapped in danger. And Sophie stood trembling in the middle, knowing that whichever way she turned, she might lose herself. The Davis house was no longer a home, it was a prison, suffocating with secrets, lies, and simmering violence. 4 days, Sophie barely spoke. She avoided Arthur's eyes, though she felt his gaze burning into her everywhere she went. Logan lingered in the shadows, too, always near, always watching, as if he feared Arthur might make good on his chilling threat. But silence was fragile, and silence never lasts. One stormy evening, Sophie found herself in the drawing room. Rain lashed the windows, thunder shook the walls. She sat by the fireplace, staring at the flames, wondering when her life had become an inferno she couldn't escape. Behind her, footsteps. She tensed, already knowing who it was. Arthur. He moved quietly, his presence heavy. We need to talk. Sophie's hands clenched in her lap. About what? About us, Arthur said, his voice thick with something she couldn't name. Love, obsession, fear. You haven't given me an answer yet. Her throat tightened. Arthur, I can't. He stepped closer. You can. You love me, Sophie. You always have. You just don't see it clearly right now because he's poisoning your mind. Her chest ached. Arthur, it's not that simple. Yes, it is, he snapped, his voice sharp as broken glass. I won't lose you to him. Not after everything I've sacrificed. Her blood ran cold. Sacrificed. Arthur's eyes flickered. His lips parted as though to take the words back, but it was too late. The letter. The silence. The guilt. He had sacrificed something, or someone. Before she could press him, another voice thundered from the doorway. Step away from her. Logan. He leaned against the doorframe, soaked from the rain, his hair plastered to his forehead. But his eyes, burning with fury, were sharp and alive. Arthur's face twisted. You just can't stay away, can you? Logan strode into the room. Not when you're cornering her like this. Sophie stood quickly, her heart hammering. Please, both of you. But they weren't listening. Arthur's jaw clenched, his hand curling into a fist. You ruin everything, Logan. Always have. Always will. And you hide behind lies, Logan spat. Pretending to be the saint while you stab everyone else in the back. Arthur's face darkened. Don't you dare. Tell her, Logan barked, his voice raw with rage. Tell her what you did the night father banished me. Tell her it wasn't me who crossed him. Tell her it was you. The words crashed through the room like lightning. Sophie's breath caught. She looked at Arthur, her heart in her throat. Arthur, is it true? Arthur's face broke. His lips trembled. For the first time, the mask of the golden boy slipped completely. I did what I had to, he whispered hoarsely. Father would have destroyed you, Logan. You were reckless, angry. You would have thrown everything away. I took the blame, twisted it, made him believe it was you. I saved us." Sophie's chest burned. "Saved you. Not him." Arthur's eyes filled with desperation. "I did it for us. For this family. For you, Sophie. I've always loved you. Since we were children. Can't you see? Everything I've done has been for you." Logan's voice was like fire. "She doesn't want a liar who cages her. She wants the truth. She wants freedom." Arthur spun, shouting, "And what do you offer her, Logan? Chaos? Destruction? You'll burn her like you burn everything you touch." Logan stepped closer, his voice low, dangerous. "At least I won't keep her in chains." The storm outside howled, rattling the windows. And Sophie felt herself unraveling. Two brothers. One begging, one demanding. Both of them tearing her apart. Tears blurred her vision. "Stop it! Just stop it!" she screamed. "You're destroying me!" Silence. Arthur's chest heaved, his fists trembling. Logan's jaw tightened, his gaze flicking between her and his brother. And in that silence, Sophie realized something terrifying. No matter what she chose, one of them might not survive the night. The storm raged outside, but the greater storm lived inside the Davis house. The fire in the hearth cast wild shadows on the walls as Sophie stood trembling between the brothers. Arthur's voice broke the silence, soft but deadly. "You're mine, Sophie. You always have been. And if I have to keep you here forever to make you see it, I will." Her breath caught. "Arthur!" Logan's voice was sharp. "Touch her, and I'll kill you." Arthur's eyes snapped to his brother, blazing. "You already killed me the night you kissed her." The words hit Sophie like a blade. He knew. He had known all along. Before she could speak, Arthur lunged. His fist swung at Logan, connecting hard. Logan staggered back, blood at the corner of his mouth, but he didn't fall. He came back harder. The two brothers collided, fists flying, furniture shattering as they crashed into tables and chairs. Sophie screamed, trying to pull them apart, but they were lost in years of hatred, jealousy, and love twisted into obsession. "Stop! Please!" she begged. But neither heard her. Arthur slammed Logan against the wall. "You don't get to take everything from me." Logan's fist cracked against Arthur's jaw. "I'm taking back what you stole." Sophie's hands shook. She had to end this. If she didn't, one of them would die. Her eyes darted to the fireplace. A heavy iron poker gleamed in the firelight. Her heart pounded. Could she do it? Could she strike one of them? Arthur turned, his eyes wild, and reached for her. "Sophie, choose me now. Right now." Logan grabbed Arthur, yanking him back, shouting, "Run, Sophie. Get out." And in that instant, Sophie knew she couldn't run. Not anymore. She seized the poker, her hands trembling. "Stop!" she screamed, holding it up. "If either of you take one more step, I swear I'll." They froze. Arthur's chest heaved, his lip bleeding. Logan's knuckles were raw, his eyes burning. Both stared at her, and for once, they both looked afraid. Tears streamed down her face. "You're tearing me apart. You want me to choose, but all you're doing is destroying me." Arthur's voice cracked. "Because I can't lose you." Logan's voice was rough. "Because I can't let him keep you." Her grip tightened on the poker. Her voice was raw, breaking. "Then maybe I don't choose either of you." The words hung heavy, sharper than any weapon. Arthur's face crumbled. "No. Sophie, don't say that. Don't do this to me." Logan's expression darkened, but deep down, pain flickered in his eyes. The storm outside finally broke into silence, leaving only the sound of their ragged breaths. And Sophie dropped the poker, the clang echoing like a death knell. "I'm leaving," she whispered. "I can't stay here. Not with either of you. Not anymore." She turned, her tears blurring the doorway as she stumbled out into the night. Behind her, silence. Neither brother followed. Arthur sank to his knees, broken. Logan leaned against the wall, blooded and hollow. Both had fought for her. Both had lost. And Sophie disappeared into the storm, knowing she might never heal from what they had done to her, or what she had done to them. The House of Davis stood in silence, shattered forever. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss the next chilling tale. Share your thoughts in the comments. Whose side were you on, and what would you have done in Sophie's place? Until next time, stay curious, and stay captivated.